Hello, Fast Lego Studios here, and welcome to the 11th week of building the Lego life-sized Spider-Man sculpture. And here we are, guys, on week 11 of building this massive Lego sculpture here. I've made quite some progress in last week's episode, just as I've gotten this arm built out off to the side here, as well as I gotten this arm built out off to the side here. But as an indication of what you could see right about there, you'd notice something definitely happened to that arm there. And if you haven't already guessed, the entire arm, or the entire chunk of the arm, fell off in chunks and just completely shattered, which was absolutely not good, just as it was quite a lot of progress that I made on the arm as it started breaking off and falling like so. And the reason behind that is because I was using no glue and no armatures whatsoever. In fact, this entire sculpture from bottom to top is using no glue and no armatures whatsoever, so it is kind of fragile, and that's just the way the Lego is. So I'm going to have to deal with what I have here and just kind of get a way on how I can kind of restabilize things and get this entire arm built out like so. Which brings me to the point of what I want to get done in this week's episode. I want to get back on track of building the arm here, get even more progress on this arm, and even switch over to this arm and get even more progress going in this way as well. That's my hope for this week's episode, but with all that being considered, guys, let's begin building. And here we are, guys, with the first progress update of the week here, just as I've gotten this area here flattened out and built downwards like so. I'm getting quite some good progress on the entire arm in general, but if we go back to last week's episode, you know that this entire arm here did break off, and so I did have to rebuild it, and we're just about at that point of we're getting back on track onto building the entire arm here, so we basically rebuilt it in this week's episode already. But the main difference between this arm here and the one that we constructed in last week's episode here is the fact that I'm using much larger Lego bricks going across here, which should in theory increase the clutch power of this entire sculpture and should really kind of secure the bricks much more better in terms of that there. That's my hope for right now, but if you guys have any suggestions in terms of on how this arm could be even more reinforced without using glue or armatures, leave it down in the comment section down below right about now. But if we take a look around the details of the arm here, you can see the 11 webbing lines just kind of going right about here, which once again I hope to nice and consistently kind of build it downwards like so. But taking a look at the form of the arm here, you can see on how the elbow there is nicely right about there, and it's going to curve right here. That's the progress that I have in terms of the arms, but if we take a look down at the legs of Spider-Man here, you can see on how I do have these two support structures just leading up into the knees like so. The reason behind these two support structures here is the fact behind the entire sculpture did start falling over as I was building out the arm here. And to prevent any collisions as I'm building the sculpture in general, it's kind of much safer to have these pillars just going right about here. And hopefully by the end of this creation here, I will be able to remove those and so have a freestanding, no glue, no armatures Lego sculpture. That's my hope for right now, but with all that being considered, guys, let's continue building Spider-Man here. And here we are, guys, with the next progress update right off to the arm here. You notice that I've gone quite a bit of solid progress, just kind of building its way out right about there. If we take a closer look at it, you can see right off the top here that the arm that I built is actually standing, which is very nice to see in general here. As a matter of fact, as I built this much of the arm off to this side here, it broke off just about this point here, which brings me to the point of my theory was correct here, meaning that the increase of the Lego bricks and the structure, just the density of things, just increasing the clutch power in general, really stabilized the arm much better than it did before. That makes me much more happy to how I can be continuing to build this Lego sculpture and not have to worry about it falling off, or at least for now my theory is quite correct. But apart from that there, if we take a look at the webbing pattern, it nicely kind of transitions, or more like a consistency of it flowing downwards with it having to cross over or anything like that, which I'm once again very happy of. But if we take a look off to the side of the form of the arm here, you can see on how the arm itself has a nice kind of curve to it, more of a lean just going forwards, which makes a really nice organic kind of look to the whole Spider-Man figure in general. But now what I'm going to be doing here is going back to building this arm, and my hope is I'll be able to continue building it and kind of get a nice and level kind of even build within this episode. So without further ado, let's begin building Spider-Man once again here. And quickly popping in, before I have any other progress updates, I just wanted to take a step back and show you guys from this perspective on how the arm looks. You can see when you take a step back, all the bricks kind of merge together into forming a very nice looking Lego sculpture. But with all that being said, guys, let's get to those progress updates once again. And here we are, guys, with the last progress update of the week here, just as I've gotten a little bit more progress right off to the arm here. You can see the webbing pattern is really nice and consistently flowing downwards into the forearm, nice and slowly there, as well as having the form of the arm itself kind of tilt more outwards and maintaining a very organic pose. And if we take a look more off to the side, you can see even more of that, of how the arm does once again merge together from being a bunch of bricks into a very nice and curved area right about there. Now, just as you know in last week's episode, once again the arm did break off, and I did overcome that by using a little bit more bricks in the inside here. That did help out, as I said, the theory that if I dense out the inside of the sculpture, that would help quite a bit here. And so it did. So far, my theory is working out once again here. But if we take a look into the inside towards how I managed to pull this off, you can see a couple of 2x4 bricks going right about here, with some 2x2s, filler bricks right about there, and some 1x2s just going around the outside there. Now that doesn't really help the weight of things, which is very good there, as if the entire sculpture did weigh like right about here, a lot more, the entire arm itself would break off quite easily, which I'm happy that I did more of a blend of hollowed out area with more of a structure kind of going in between layers here, just to stabilize things and not make things way too dense so everything breaks off like so. That's the method that I used, and so far it's working out for me. But going back into the sculpture of Spider-Man here, I did want to show you guys the back of Spider-Man here, but he weighs quite a little bit here, and I do not want to break him at this point in time as I'm building even more of him. So if you want to go and check out on the back of Spider-Man here, there will be a card in the upper right corner of your screen right now, which will forward you to the last week's episode of where you could see the back of Spider-Man there. But with all that being considered, guys, let's move out into the outro here. And here we are, guys, at the end of week 11 here. I've made quite some progress this week in terms of the build of the model. Just as off to the side here, you can see that the arm of Spider-Man himself got rebuilt quite a little bit. We have gotten even more progress than we did in last week's episode in terms of building that arm right off to the side there, right before it broke off, which I'm really happy of. I reinforced the structure of the arm itself by using a half and half kind of method, being a half solid and half hollow to kind of decrease the weight of things, yet still have a very strong kind of inner structure to keep the entire sculpture intact. Going to the other side of the sculpture here, I've gotten quite a little bit of consistency in terms of the webbing pattern and all of that, so on and so forth. As well as I did imply that same type of method of restabilizing things within the inside. I did use a little bit more of larger bricks on that side, and that's probably the reason behind of why that arm still hasn't broken off, which I'm very happy of. And so that theory is turning out quite nicely of what I made there. At the end of the day, I'm quite happy with the result that I'm getting so far in terms of the building of the sculpture in general. But with all that being considered, guys, next week's episode, I'm really hoping to continue on to building the forearms of Spider-Man, get much more of a consistent flow of the webbing pattern in general, and then get the hands maybe even started then. But time will tell once again on week 12. So stay tuned for all that. But with all that being said, guys, Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel if you are new, and comment down in the comment section of what do you think of this massive Lego sculpture, as well as give some suggestions in terms of arm building, and if you guys have any tips in terms of on how I can reinforce the arm itself without using any glue or armatures whatsoever. But with all that being considered, guys, keep on building, and bye.